Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome for the first time. Today, we'll be discussing disappointing news regarding Katy Perry's latest album 143 and her plans to go on tour in a few weeks. At the beginning of the year, she posted story after story on Instagram showing links to either her website or venue seating charts on Ticketmaster, where concertgoers could pick and choose where they'd like to sit. Katy could not contain her excitement to perform in front of a passionate audience, and it's hard to really blame her. She has sold out tickets in venues across Mexico, Australia, and the United Kingdom, but she shouldn't hold her breath for a humongous turnout at her US shows. Some venues like the Ball Arena in Denver, Colorado have seats that are still largely unsold and still available for purchase. This is primarily related to how poorly received the album and Katy's image lately has been since before its release. To be blunt, it's not favorable. In spite of low demand to attend the concert, Ticketmaster continues to bleed concertgoers dry because that's what Ticketmaster does best. To have an experience at the tour that'll leave a long-lasting mark on your hippocampus is worth almost as much as renting a small apartment. VIP packages cost about 5 weeks worth of income for workers that are paid minimum wage, if not a lot more. Okay, I looked up a concert Katy Perry is playing in Boston as part of her tour to get a sense of how poorly tickets are selling, and it looks like the article on Yahoo is exaggerating. Some sections near the floor are full, and availability in the other sections are limited. It did state that the larger cities are doing better with sales, but it's not really going to impact Katy negatively in the grand scheme of things, and some more seats could fill up as the dates get closer. According to her, in an interview with St. Lo, she saw the number 143 repeatedly in her life, and it made her feel like a higher power was using the number to tell her, "I love you, we got you, we're going to protect you, you're exactly where you're meant to be, you're on the path." And that's actually correct. The number 143 is commonly interpreted in numerology as being on the right track to achieving your dreams. Seeing that number around you is intended to encourage you to believe in yourself and continue working toward your goals. The road may be tough, but 143 is a sign that these goals are within your reach if you keep trying. In Chinese culture, pronouncing 143 together sounds similar to Yi Si San. 1 obviously symbolizes being in the lead in a competition while concurrently symbolizing solitude. 4 is a taboo number in China since its pronunciation is close to the word Si, which translates to death. It's considered bad luck, so when you're traveling to China and staying in a hotel, this is a reminder that the floor above the 3rd floor is the 5th floor. Speaking of 3, it is a number that symbolizes birth and life, but it can also symbolize breaking or separating from something or someone. Occasionally, it would represent the end of a relationship, hence why the number 3 can sound like the Chinese number, san. Combining the symbolism of these numbers together can mean rebirth and renewal. It connects with 143 representing personal growth and being more open-minded to experience things you never have before. A part of you dies when something negative changes in your life, but a newer, wiser part of you is born afterwards. It's simple to understand from Katy Perry's perspective why she would be drawn to that. The idea of rebirth and renewal is particularly drawn from a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis before flying into the sky. Katy has touched on that motif before in her song War to describe herself going from someone that can't make her own choices to gathering the strength to think for herself. In a grim sense of irony, Dr. Luke produced that song the year before Kesha filed a lawsuit against him that damaged his credibility. We're going to discuss why that contributed to 143's decline later on, but anyhow, a metallic-looking butterfly could be seen on some advertisements for the album and this poster that came with my vinyl. Katy Perry herself is depicted as a butterfly in promotional ads with the dates for the Lifetimes tour listed, but I think she looks like a cybernetic fairy. A fascinating aesthetic I noticed in these posts is that the wings change color to match the flags of the countries she is performing in. It's pretty eye-catching. With the symbolism behind the angel number being personal to Katy fresh in our minds, the controversy surrounding its production must feel like getting punched in the stomach. I've had my fair share of negative feedback with my artwork and the video games I develop on my own time. It's never a pleasant feeling, but it helps you develop thick skin. One of the toughest lessons I had to learn is that when you as a creator plan to put out a work of art that you put your heart and soul into, there's no promise audiences will look at it the same way you do. Once that content is in the public eye, people can perceive it however they wish, even if the original creator disagrees with it. In 2021, Gabby Hanna threw an infamous tantrum on social media over the negative reception her poetry books had gotten. Her constant use of the terms narcissistic abuse and gaslighting to describe her critics made her look shallow and unprofessional to commentary YouTubers and fans alike. I remember that incident like it was yesterday. Watching Gabby act nasty on camera like there was no tomorrow, knowing that her following is massive in contrast to the critics she was screaming about, was unpleasant to watch. It put me off from taking a closer look at her mediocre poetry, but if she decides to publish a third book one day, maybe I'll consider it.
A reminder that this isn't me starting drama. This is me responding to abuse since 2018. Slanders and defamation since 2018, constant gaslighting, and consistently inserting herself into my life and drama. She inserted herself into this. I was speaking about my poetry and a situation involving my poetry and talking about the unfair criticism that women get, and Angelica inserted herself and said that it wasn't fair for me to call my bully a bully. Because that's what narcissistic, gaslighting, abusive people do, is they want to say whatever they want, and then if you respond, then you're a bully. If you stand up to your bully, you're a bully. That's narcissistic abuse, Miss Ma'am.
No. I don't think that's right.
Gabby Hanna later uploaded a video last September apologizing for her actions, but most users that watched it didn't think her apologies were genuine because they were abrupt, and the way she smirked when she read her notes indicated that she hasn't shown remorse. To some people that interacted with her, her apologies to them were too little too late because their means of support were turned upside down by Gabby's behavior. It indirectly costed an atheist content creator his friendship with a YouTuber that reviewed Gabby's poetry books. More damning information about him had since came out, such as that he used to be a pickup artist, and his image hasn't recovered from that situation. If you know, you know. Thankfully, Katy Perry did not stoop as low as to accuse her critics of gaslighting when the backlash over 143 was brought to her attention, and has mostly been dodging questions she was asked about her decision to work with shady record producer Dr. Luke. On her part, it was a smart PR move because a quick look at the reviews of the album on iTunes is an indicator that they are vicious. If Katy addressed them directly, it might lead to a bigger tidal wave of one-star reviews, and it could further taint her image. So how did she find herself in this bind? Let's start off with examining the album's most memorable single, Woman's World. What was anticipated to be a powerful feminist anthem ended up being a lackluster dance song that is far too shallow to make a long-lasting impression on listeners advocating for gender equality. The song starts off weak. It opens up with listing adjectives that describe a self-assured woman in a robotic melody. Sexy, confident, so intelligent, she is heaven sent, so soft, so strong, was the first verse I heard when I opened a sponsored video on Facebook that advertised physical copies of Woman's World. Sexy, confident, so intelligent, she is heaven sent, so soft, so strong, sexy, confident, so intelligent, she is heaven sent, so soft, so strong. I wasn't impressed with the lines in the first verse. Part of me wondered if it was a rough take or if it was the entire song that was recorded under a tight deadline. Another part of me asked if I was going to be background noise because Katy Perry had previously performed hit songs about empowerment like War, Dark Horse, and Part of Me, so I was led to believe that it was going to build up to a part of Woman's World that was going to blow listeners away and crush their doubts about it. But then I realized that I had not listened to her newer music, and I remembered the time I listened to Swish Swish. I thought that it was weak at best. It came off as a bit too predictable to be an effective anti-bullying song. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed it and I could relate to Nicki Minaj's part of the song. Katy's part sounded flat and the verses were a bit wordy. It could be why she seemed to have sung off-key. Woman's World gives me that sort of feeling. The emotion in Katy's voice up into the chorus is monotone, so it comes off as unexpressive. When she sings, Superhuman, number one, she's a sister, she's a mother. Her intent was to instill confidence in female listeners. However, it sounds like she may be talking about herself and her accomplishments, not about women as individuals. Katy has 9 number one hits from her discography, but sadly, the song happens to not be one of them. I checked the charts on iTunes from time to time since 143 came out, and nowhere do I see it. I did my best in another 50-second cover of the song I recorded in February to sound as excited as I could, but even my voice sounded monotone and robotic. It was difficult for me to give my take on the song more emotion than the original. I could feel the insincerity in my thoughts that it was going to be an improvement, knowing what's been going on in U.S. politics at that time. She's a winner, champion, superhuman, number one. She's a sister, she's a mother. Open your eyes, just look around and you'll discover, you know, it's a woman's world and you're lucky to be living in it. Ha ha, ha ha. It's a woman's world and you're lucky to be living in it. Oh, 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 you better celebrate, 'cause baby, we ain't going away. Oh, it's a woman's world and you're lucky to be living in it. Oh, 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 oh. Well, that aged poorly, but I found an excuse to sing in this video, so mission accomplished. It's a woman's world, and we are lucky to be living in it. Let that line sink in for a second and then ask yourself, what's wrong with it? On the surface, nothing seems to be. Women celebrating and being proud of their sexuality is a powerful tool for holding on to their individuality. Qualities like this are what misogynists, whether it is the average Joe sporting a MAGA hat or high-profile commentators like Ben Shapiro promoting right-wing views, resent. Because if a woman takes pride in who she is, they lose their power over her, so they make fruitless attempts to force her to feel bad about her individuality in order to regain that power. Woman's World doesn't inspire that resistance in the slightest. Other than the fact that an alleged abuser had produced the song, it comes off as appealing to the male gaze. I can argue that it's a woman's world because more women are employed in male-dominated industries. Women have opportunities to rise to leadership roles like managers or CEOs, and about 30 women are currently world leaders. The United States came close to electing a female president twice in its history and lost to a convicted felon each time, but Kamala Harris broke the glass ceiling in 2020 when she became the traditionally patriarchal country's first female vice president. As for the music industry, more female singers dominate the charts every year. Pink Pony Club by Chappelle Roan was number one on iTunes on the Thursday before Lady Gaga's newest album, Mayhem, came out. It doesn't seem like much, but both are significant enough for me to conclude that this is probably what Katy Perry meant when she sang that it's a woman's world that we're lucky to be living in. On the other hand, because of recent events, I'm not certain if that is genuinely the case. Women in the United States are in greater danger for the first time in years. There's still sexism in the gaming industry, politics, and of course, music. They're still paid less than men, even in leadership positions, and what's worse is that restrictions on abortions are getting tighter. A cluster of states have started prosecuting pregnant women and new mothers for ridiculous reasons. In Ohio, for example, an expecting mother, Brittany Watts, was charged with abusing a corpse after she had a miscarriage in a bathroom at her own house. In the days leading up to it, she had been in and out of a hospital twice. There, her doctor told her that the fetus won't be able to survive outside her womb, and he told her to either induce the labor or potentially die. Later on a Thursday in January, a grand jury that presided over the case dismissed it, much to Brittany's relief. About more than half the nation have restrictions on abortions in place, and although I'm not a woman, it's terrifying that reproductive care is getting further out of reach for people that benefit from it. These restrictions don't automatically prevent them from getting abortions. It just makes these procedures unsafe and potentially fatal. It's one of 5 leading causes of maternal mortality across the globe, and it is entirely preventable if abortion rights are protected. If these protections are gone, then we aren't living in a woman's world. In Afghanistan, women and young girls have it worse. Ever since the Taliban regained control of the nation's government, women have been banned from getting an education and traveling without a male chaperone to accompany them. Usually their chaperones would be their husbands, fathers, brothers, and sometimes their sons. While some are just as terrified of the Taliban as their female relatives are, most men that are zealous perceive their wives, sisters, and daughters as objects. If a woman wanted to leave the house for whatever reason and her father, brother, or husband refuses to allow it, they are practically trapped in their own homes. Women and girls are also required by law to cover their entire bodies, often by wearing a burqa when out in public. An article of clothing that symbolized a Muslim woman's purity and devotion to her faith became a metaphorical pair of chains used to control her personhood. When the Taliban previously ruled Afghanistan, women risked getting beaten for traveling alone or failing to cover herself based on the Taliban's ordinances. When I look at the perils women in Afghanistan face, I realize that we aren't living in a woman's world after all because they are robbed of the freedom to choose. It may not be the reality in the United States, but a reported rapid decline in civic liberties shows it is slowly heading in that direction. Fire in her eyes, she was born to shine are lines that I've heard before in 2 older songs. This Girl Is on Fire by Alicia Keys and Make It Shine by Victoria Justice. Coincidentally, Fire in Her Eyes is the name of a country song performed by the Lowtown Drifters. It's about a self-assured, athletic woman that's well-liked by bar patrons that take an interest in her, but her confidence, strength, and tough demeanor has made her hard to please. It's better received as a feminist song than Woman's World because the band has gotten comments on the song's page by female viewers stating that it connected with them. The adjectives in the verses Katy used to describe an independent woman don't connect with listeners at the same level. When I listened to them a second time, I perceived the way she sang these portions of the song to be seductive. There isn't a lot to dissect from the lyrics otherwise. Woman's World is a surface-level song that attempts to promote female empowerment that anyone could have written single-handedly. It boggles my mind that it took 7 writers that are mostly men to commit the lyrics of Woman's World to paper. It's not off-putting in theory if the song is excellent, but I think that if there were 7 people collaborating to write a song, there'd be more to it than she's a flower, she's a thorn, superhuman, number 1. Some speculate that the verses were generated by artificial intelligence as reported in an article published on the American Songwriter that questioned the future of pop music. Honestly, I think that the genre is fine, it's just that Katy in particular isn't evolving with it. It's been about 5 years since her last album, Smile, that she released new music. It received mixed reviews, but even it did better than 143. The music video for Woman's World starts off with a woman spraying pink graffiti on a men working sign at a construction site to spell women working. That's a promising start. It gives me the impression that Katy and her group of female dancers are crashing the site to take on a project that the male workers couldn't finish because their boss is a demanding control freak forcing them to work overtime so they can't go home to their families. Katy kicks him out of his seat and he falls out of a window before landing in quick dry cement. To humiliate the boss further, she speaks in a megaphone that she's in charge of the project now, and she starts to perform when the crew get to work and their significant others visit them to help out. That was what I preferred the music video to be about, but what we got was Katy and the female dancers in scantily clad outfits partying at that construction site. The video was received poorly for good reason. It strengthened accusations that the song was produced deliberately to appeal to the male gaze by embracing patriarchal values as opposed to challenging them like in the plot I suggested above. Katy addressed this criticism by tweeting a behind-the-scenes video along with the uptight-sounding caption, "You can do anything, even satire."
Girl boss, crush it. You can do it. You go, girl. You were born to shine. And we're kind of just having fun, being a bit sarcastic with it. It's very slapstick and very on the nose. And with this set, it's like, ooh, we're not about the male gaze, but we really are about the male gaze. And we're really overplaying it and on the nose because I'm about to get smashed, which is like a reset for me and a reset for my idea of feminine divine. And it's a whole different world we go to after this. We wanted to open this video making it look like a super high gloss pop star video, and that's what it is. Woo! Yeah!
Katy Perry additionally dresses up as Rosie the Riveter, a cultural icon that represented working-class women during World War II, and in the first scene, she poses on a beam with a group of female dancers before smiling with a bottle of whiskey in hand. She drinks it and makes a scrunchy face that summarized my reaction from sampling a couple small shots of a different brand at a tasting event. I lost feeling in my tongue after a sip, so I feel you, Katy. It does pack a punch. I don't see the music video as satire personally. Half of the scenes would have panned out differently if the objective to poke fun of the male gaze was coherent. There's stupid debates on Reddit arguing that Katy and the other female dancers were sexualized, but I would have liked to see the takeaway of the music video to be that women can recognize that their sexuality holds power, and that they are perfectly capable of holding jobs that are stereotypical for men like construction. To be honest, watching a close-up shot of Katy squishing her breasts together made me feel squeamish. It came out of nowhere to me, and it was unnecessary to use. I wondered what was the point of that if it wasn't to play into the fantasies of an average straight guy. It showed me that the slapstick element that Katy mentioned in her behind-the-scenes video is missing. Her dance routine in the chorus was interrupted by an anvil dropping on her, squishing her into a pancake. She then sticks her thumb in her mouth to inflate herself like a balloon and get back on her feet. That part could represent her attempt to revitalize her career, only for it to be as stale as it was after 2010. A compilation of random videos that played in between the anvil getting dropped on Katy and her standing up afterwards reminded me of a part in the music video for Swish Swish where the shooting stars meme was featured. I wasn't a fan of its use there either, and the random compilation used in Woman's World threw me off as well. It caused both videos for these songs to be inauthentic from an artistic lens. A critique that I have for the music video for Woman's World was if I was directing it, I would add in a scene where a grumpy, entitled old man is on a Commodore 64 typing inflammatory, harassing comments on Katy Perry's social media pages, and she climbed onto his roof to cut his satellite dish off using hedge clippers. Then he'd be banging his fist on the keyboard in a fruitless attempt to get it to work and ends up destroying it. The video would cut to Katy Perry and Trisha Paytas snickering outside before giving each other a high five. Next to that entitled man's computer would be a black and white computer-generated photo of Heidi Lamar smirking at him with crossed arms. Heidi was the inventor of frequency hopping technology that later evolved into devices used for Wi-Fi connectivity, so a cameo from her would place emphasis on the line, "It's a woman's world and we're lucky to be living in it." If it weren't for a female engineer, you wouldn't have Wi-Fi. In my opinion, if a scene like that was included in the music video, it'd be a bit more likable even if the lyrics are still surface level and Katy was still wearing scantily clad clothing. I love you for life, lifetimes. I love you for life, lifetimes. I know you feel it, can you believe it? I'm gonna love you till the end and then repeat it. I know you feel it, can you believe it? I'm gonna love you till the end and then repeat it for the next 50 times. Back to work. Lifetimes, the tour's namesake, is a track where the lyrics are just as simple and repetitive. Not that there are bad qualities in a song that gives you the sensation of flying in the clouds, but it's not memorable to me either. It's a generic, upbeat love song I could listen to at a boardwalk amusement park when I stroll through it on a busy summer afternoon. I can easily visualize going on every ride and hitting up every restaurant there with my best friend while that song is playing in the background. I don't think he'd want that outing to end since he feels like he can be himself with me. His narcissistic personality disorder makes it difficult for him to find good friendships, so being able to do that with him made me feel like I did one thing right. The story that inspired Katy Perry to write Lifetimes is also sweet. She said that it was about her 3.5-year-old daughter, Daisy, because she has such a strong motherly love for her that every night before bed she'd ask her, "Will you find me in every lifetime?" Daisy would always answer yes, and it made Katy certain that she found a soulmate in her. The song doesn't make the inspiration behind it precise, but what I enjoyed about it is that the simplistic lyrics allows it to be about who you want it to be about, and Katy sort of agrees with that sentiment. She said that it's funny how sometimes you're looking for your soulmate in a partner. It could be your dog, your mom, your best friend, your cat, but for me, it came in the form of Daisy, and it shows in a TikTok video she helped her pop singer mother sign some of her photo inserts. Katy revealed in an Instagram livestream where she was signing inserts that go with the vinyl that she had been doing it so continuously that she turned it into a game where the objective is signing as many inserts as she could in a minute. It was a bit fun to watch her entertain herself in the process because I visualized that it can get tedious for her to sign a bunch of photos at one time.
Every box that I have has 500 of these. And I am signing all of them. I'm signing them all by me, by hand. I have been signing them for weeks. I'm going to continue signing them so that if you purchase a vinyl of mine for my new record 143, I hope you'll get a signed copy by moi, personally. I hope that I have like, what's a bunion for your finger? A callus. That's what I hope. I'm gonna have a callus on a couple of fingers for you. See, the thing is, I've done the math. If I'm signing by myself, I can sign about 15 of these guys in 1 minute. If I have someone helping me, I can sign about 19 or 20. Because the thing is, with my signature, is I do like my first name and then I do a circle and then I put a heart in it. So it's not just like a, I'm actually gonna put that over there and I'm gonna fly them this way. So I did the math. Can someone else do the math for me now? But basically, it would take me like 3 whole days to sign all the tens of thousands that I'm gonna sign, and I'm gonna do it because you have already proved to me today that you A, want it, and that the Katy cats are the best and they deserve it. They waited a long freaking time for me to show up like I'm showing up today.
Her fans have definitely wanted it. Autographed copies have been sold out twice on her merch store, but not instantaneously in comparison to several bigger artists. In their merch stores, once a signed CD and vinyl is up for pre-order, you'd have to wait in a 10-minute Q&A before proceeding to checkout, assuming it's still available by the time you get there. One blessing that came out of the controversy surrounding 143 is that you could take your time while you set aside room in your budget and decide if an autographed copy is worth buying. And would you look at that, my autographed vinyl came today. The front and back cover are undeniably eye-catching and hypnotic in a way. Well, let's see what her signature looks like. Her autograph looks as advertised. That's something. I purchased that signed vinyl shortly after Katy announced the album was up for pre-order because my anxiety fooled me into thinking it'd be sold out in less than 15 seconds if I don't. That was the case when I pre-ordered a signed copy of Mayhem. I got an email from Lady Gaga's merch store on February 24th while I was on break, and when I was in the Q&A, I was at the edge of my seat. Autographed CDs and vinyls were sold out once already, and I was racing against the clock because my break was almost over, but being stuck in the Q&A wasn't helping. I was there for about 12 minutes before I got to the front of the line, and once I did, PayPal came to my rescue. I successfully placed my order like I was holding my breath in a frozen pond while looking for an opening in the ice. Lady Gaga's signature and these Dada art style photographs in the album did not disappoint. I must have lucked out when I bought my signed copies of 143 since there was no Q&A I had to wait in. I later picked up an autographed CD as well to personalize my Woman's World single CD. The autographed insert that came with my vinyl was lacking the smiling face while the insert that came with my CD did. It allows it to appear exuberant and it creates more personality for this photo of Katy wearing her bionic legs. If it is unsigned, it just looks like she lacks individuality. The photo would be artificial. Being backhanded is not a characteristic I'd want to describe Katy Perry based on her positive fan interactions and contributions to charity following the release of 143. In November, she announced that £1 from every ticket sold at the United Kingdom leg of her tour would be donated to the Music Venue Trust, an organization that preserves and provides funding to grassroots venues that provide aspiring artists performing on tour with an opportunity to make their name. These venues exist to promote them, and Katy Perry wanted to give back to that because of the fond memories she made from the first time she performed in the UK. While she was in Brazil to perform at Rock in Rio 2 months prior, her team served pizza to fans that greeted her outside the hotel she was staying at. Katy said in a video she posted of the interactions on Instagram that "We're going to deliver to the fans because we love them. It's tough even for me to take a step back to contemplate if all that goodwill could be a facade based on Katy's questionable decisions, including one where she decided to work with Dr. Luke on 143. It was one of the biggest criticisms the album has received and the reason audiences outside of her fanbase aren't taking her intention to use the album to nurture strong female empowerment seriously. Dr. Luke, whose real name is Lucas Gottwald, was notoriously accused of SAing another singer, Kesha, on 2 occasions in the initial lawsuit she had filed in 2014. She additionally alleged that he psychologically tormented her while they were working together and was excessively critical of her voice and weight. The abuse had contributed to the development of an eating disorder, which then led to her spending 2 months in a rehabilitation clinic. She didn't have much evidence against Dr. Luke, and her testimonies were her words against his. Ouch. Dr. Luke countersued her for defamation and breach of contract as a response. He argued that Kesha had made these stories up to smear him and terminate her contract with his company sooner. His statement that no reasonable person would believe her when questioned under oath in 2017 discredits survivors of domestic violence and people that sympathize with Kesha's side of the situation because they've had similar experiences in their relationships. Having to read that they're being stupid for showing concern for a musician that was willing to risk her entire livelihood to come forward is little more than a guilt trip. In February 2020, Justice Schwechter sided with Dr. Luke when she dismissed an accusation that he SA'd Katy Perry in a text Kesha had sent to Lady Gaga in 2016 over insufficient evidence. Katy denied in a deposition that this happened, giving Dr. Luke's legal team more ammo to support their arguments that Kesha had defamed him. She continued to stick to her side of the story in spite of the setback, and her attorneys vowed to appeal the ruling. I still remember when I read about Kesha crying in the courtroom when another judge ruled that her contract with Sony stands since she deemed it unreasonable to terminate one that was heavily negotiable. I believe it says a lot about the position Kesha was in and how trapped she felt. Her reaction was an indicator that she desperately wanted to leave. Hearing a judge tell her to her face that she must continue working with someone she alleged abused her was more than she was able to cope with. Though Dr. Luke and Kesha both settled the case after a decade of fighting in court, spectators remained unconvinced that the former was innocent. I don't believe he was because, for one, why would he be desperate to censor his detractors for reporting on the case if he knows he's done nothing wrong? For two, based on Kesha's statements on how the alleged abuse affected her, Dr. Luke was both her client and employer. A power imbalance was present, so any claim that he took advantage of her while she was with Sony would add up. We do not know what the settlement was, but the worst-case scenario could be that Kesha was forced to compensate him or vice versa, under the condition that she'd never badmouthed him again, knowing that the judges overseeing the case had cut Dr. Luke an extraordinary amount of slack. Attorneys representing him and his record label have all stated that it wasn't compulsory for Kesha to work with him directly. However, she'd still be in his vicinity, and even seeing him around would be excruciating. It's like being forced to put up with a coworker you reported for creating a hostile work environment, and the manager didn't do anything even if they claimed they were spoken to about it. Some good did come out of this lawsuit. Multiple female artists, save for a couple like Doja Cat on one occasion, refused to hire him on the off chance that they would endure the same treatment Kesha experienced. Nicki Minaj unfollowed him in wake of the lawsuit, and Kelly Clarkson strongly hinted that she is enraged for Kesha based on a tweet where she stated, "Trying to not say anything since I can't say anything nice about a person, so this is me not talking about Dr. Luke." Katy Perry especially decided not to work with him on her Witness album, but not because she was worried about getting abused. It was because she didn't want to come across as quote-unquote taking a side. But by choosing to work with him on 143, she made it clear that she didn't think that through. Alexandria Cooper confronted Katy about this in her interview with her on her Call Her Daddy podcast. Though she is a controversial figure herself, she did ask an honest question, and Katy answered that he was someone that was able to aid her in implementing her vision of overcoming turmoil in both her professional and love lives into an album that highlights her metamorphosis into the woman she is today. I empathize with Katy's fondness of the people she collaborated with on 143. When I commission other artists for my projects more than 3 times, it's more manageable since they're familiar enough with the approach I'm going for to uphold it without needing me to clarify on it as often as when I first worked with them. Unfortunately, whenever I briefly listen to the songs on the album, including its deluxe edition 1432, I had trouble understanding that vision. It didn't click for me.
I do want to ask you about one collaborator in particular. I know a lot of people have expressed disappointment and were really upset that you decided to involve Dr. Luke on this album. Why did you choose to work with him?
Look, I understand that it started a lot of conversations, and he was one of many collaborators that I collaborated with. But the reality is it comes from me. The truth is I wrote these songs from my experience of my whole life going through this metamorphosis. And he was one of the people to help facilitate all that, one of the writers, one of the producers. And I am speaking from my own experience. Like when I speak about Woman's World, I speak about feeling so empowered now as a mother, as a woman, giving birth, creating life, creating another set of organs, a brain, a heart. I created a whole ass heart, and I did it, and I'm still doing it, and I'm still a matriarch, and feeling really grounded in that. That's where I'm speaking from. Yeah. And so I created all of this with several different collaborators, people that I've collaborated with from the past, from Teenage Dream era, all of that.
If Dr. Luke is one of many collaborators she had worked with, she can easily contact another producer because the music industry has plenty more talented, less scammy individuals that would consider working with Katy to be a dream come true. Their flexibility with her production could allow her to move past that part of her career and appeal to listeners that crave sincerity in an artist's activism and raw, emotional storytelling in songs like those recorded by Sabrina Carpenter, Olivia Rodrigo, and Benson Boone. Katy's choice to work with Dr. Luke was made in an effort to bring back the team that made her Teenage Dream album possible and hoping that success sticks. In that case, 143 can be perceived as a throwback to that era, and most of her fans don't mind it. However, tastes in music have evolved, and beliefs that consumers hold on to have shifted since then. I give 143 a 2-star rating because as much as I understand Katy Perry's attachment to what 143 means to her, the lyrics and the choices she made during its production doesn't get that message across. Katy may be off her game now, but 143 is not a bad album, and I don't mind listening to it. I can't, however, deny that songs like Woman's World and Lifetimes could have been written and produced better. I would remake the music video for Woman's World or film a new one from scratch because in an attempt to poke fun at the patriarchal values deeply rooted in the United States, Katy actually reinforces them. It harmed what she meant for the song to represent. Besides Lifetimes, if I had to pick another, my favorite song from the album would be Wonder. It's one of the few tracks that seemed like it came from the heart, and even though she also wrote it about her daughter, I like to look at it as a dedication to her fanbase. A daisy can be used as a term of endearment for the reason that these flowers are often associated with purity, balance, and cheerfulness. It wouldn't be far off for her to use it to describe someone that brings these qualities into her life. If I were asked if I'd recommend this album to a friend, then sure, I think so if they're willing to look past the controversy and they're looking for a bubblegum pop to listen to as party music. If there are consumers that enjoy and have bought 143, that's terrific. Just don't get too excited about this album boosting Katy's career. Ticket sales for the Lifetimes tour in the US are still pretty slim, and it doesn't look like they're going to sell out immediately, if ever. Anyway, you can let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you're going to see Katy Perry on tour and what your expectations are for the concert you're going to. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Go.